Joining me now is the lead pollster for Rasmussen, Mark Mitchell, also a keynote speaker at our 22nd annual national conference coming up Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. WorldviewStore.com to get your tickets, worldviewstore.com. Or again, you can stream if you have a membership to the one-year vault. One-year vault membership, you can live stream at worldviewtube.com/vault. He joins us now, as always, to talk about a lot of stuff. My wife said to me this morning, Mark, hey, you need to get Mark Mitchell back on. I said, he's already booked, hon. For some reason, she really likes a few of our guests. She likes all of our guests, but she has a couple favorites. And for some reason, she really likes it when you come on. I think it might have something to do with your content, but she's also a very bright businesswoman. I think it also has something to do with the fact that you're generous and kind and retweet our interviews, and that gives us more traffic. So I think she has another motive.
Well, hey, any or all of the above, that's great. I used to be in the business world too, so maybe she sees that. And it absolutely kills me to see what has happened there. But there's good news with the CEO of Target resigning now after perpetrating the horrible LGBT stuff that destroyed so many dollars of shareholder value.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, will you?
No, I mean, it's just, I worked there. I led a 100-person team at Walmart. I understand these corporate people, these wokesters. And I don't think a lot of people understand the scope of the problem. It's not a few people with purple hair in human resources. That's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the pervasive worship of non-objective measures in companies and the way that it's created cultures where cohesion and looking, talking, and sounding the right way and following the popular trends are how decisions are made. And that's how you get something where, listen, that CEO of Target, I forget his name, but he resigned today after a massive stock rout because their sales are collapsing. And it might partially be because of the LGBT and woke stuff, but it's also because they redesigned their stores. The new layout's horrible and the stores are always like understocked, and it's just not a great experience. And so he has a fiduciary duty to millions of shareholders in order to do the best thing for the business, right? And when you lean into all of these social trends, they're 5, 10, 20% positions, and you make the rest of America unhappy because you get blowback because you're selling, tuck the wee bathing suits for little boys, like in the kids section in a big display with rainbows all over it. And then after there's blowback, you move it to the back of the store, and now the Rainbow Mafia is mad at you. There's no winners, right? And so what they should be doing is making objective decisions that improve the business. And across the board in companies, that's not what's happened. You look at what's happened in Bud Light. You look at what's happened in Disney. We poll on the Walt Disney Company, and Walt Disney Entertainment is less popular than the most hated man in modern politics, Donald Trump. And so there you are. When your company is polling like a politician, you probably messed up. You probably destroyed a lot of shareholder value. And I don't think Donald Trump's enough to fix it. Because I don't see Disney reversing its trajectory. I don't see Target reversing its trajectory. That's the problem.
Let's go to the ding-a-lings at the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, what kind of absolute ding-a-ling do you have to be to think that this is going to appeal to football players? I mean, let me plug it in here. But, I mean, who wants to see that?
Oh, man. The football stadiums are the same crowds that were chanting FJB in the fall of 2021. Like, we have to have a little bit of self-awareness here. And it's like, okay, maybe your fans are super understanding and you'll get away with this one. And then you'll be encouraged and push a little more and push a little more. I think the question is, though, is why is there so much pushing, especially after American Eagle just said, listen, if you just lean into the way that things used to be, what they did was they tried to change America and then they thought they succeeded. And yet they really didn't fully change America because that Sydney Sweeney ad looked like something that they would have put up in the 90s, right? And so they go back and they do those kind of optics and look at that. They gained $400 million in shareholder value in market cap. It's incredible.
Whoa. After the I've Got Good Genes with Sweeney, their market cap went up?
Yeah, that's what I heard. $400 million. Let me try and look the stock up.
Maybe I don't even know if they're around anymore, but Victoria's Secret, I'm a married man. I used to buy some stuff for my wife there, and the catalogs would show up, and then pretty soon there's nothing but a bunch of nasty fat chicks. And,
yeah, right.
I mean, what happened? Logan and I went into a Target this summer with my wife, And as we walked into the front door, the bathing suit section's on the left, big old massive billboard of this 300-pound fat chick in a bikini. We had just had dinner. I almost threw up right in the Target store and slipped in it and fell. I mean, I said, Logan, who wants to see that? Nobody wants to see that. I mean, that would have never been thought of in the that's the new Eagles cheerleader? Oh, brother.
Yeah,
that would have never been thought of in the 1980s and 90s and early 2000s. Hey, let's find the biggest fat chick we can and put her in a bikini, a two-piece, and throw her up on the wall, bigger than life, and hope it sells bathing suits. Yeah. And maybe she's in a two-piece because she can't get it in a all-in-one. Maybe there's just too much there. She can't cram it all-in-one. She's got to. She's just so fat she can't get it in a big one. She can't get it in a one-piece. Sorry, but that doesn't mean we want to see it, right? And you go around the store and they have, I keep pointing out to my wife, the ugliest people. God bless them. I hope they have great personalities and they love Jesus. But these are not beautiful people, okay? And I love beautiful things. I love beautiful art. I love beautiful landscaping. I love beautiful music. I love way beautiful women look that actually look like women, not men. I think we all do that are guys. And I think ladies appreciate a nice, handsome guy. You can appreciate people's public and professional demeanor and dress without, having, wrong thoughts. But you go out through Target, and I kept pointing out to Logan and my wife. It's like they went looking for the ugliest people they could find that haven't pushed back from a dessert their entire life, and they're modeling clothes, and they're thinking, oh yeah, this is going to make me want to buy. Who comes up with these ideas?
I mean, it's postmodern Marxism. They hate beauty and they want to redefine America. They want to redefine the world and reality. And so if you're mentally infirm and you don't like your current situation, or you think that you want to be a hero and create some victim class that you'd like to worship or something like that, you can't acknowledge the fundamental realities of humanity, which is that humans appreciate strength and beauty. Right? Like, that's pretty fundamental. And for you to be in, let's say, a VP of marketing position where you're trying to convince everybody, no, the way we're going to make our business grow is by ignoring all of human nature and trying to redefine it around inclusivity. And so that's not the way humans work. We don't, on average, read stories about broken people to try and make ourselves feel okay that there are people like us. No, we look up to inspiration. It's positive. And so it's gross, and all of these people are infested in every layer of these companies now, is my theory, having witnessed these things. People who would rather not fix stuff, they'd rather be a part of a crowd and fit in and say the same things that corporate wants them to say, the same corporate that's trying to pursue a modern audience that doesn't exist. And, it's easier for these senior vice presidents to look back at themselves and say, you know what, I've been a success. I was able to champion underrepresented minorities. And they pat themselves on the back for that in a town hall, and they get a glossy Forbes cover, when in reality, what they should have done was improve profits 20%. And so how are we going to, this keeps coming back. Every single thing that we've been polling on recently is Donald Trump's in there. He's doing okay. He could be doing better. He's trying to fix a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of wins recently. This debanking executive order, super cool. Trying to fix the census. I really like that.
Getting rid of machines, getting rid of ballots, paper ballots.
Yep. But he can't fix it all.
Yep. By the way, what's that, Logan? Mail-in ballots. Yeah, getting rid of mail-in. Go to paper watermark. By the way, Grace Kelly, right? This is what I'm talking about, all right? This is what everyone wants to see, unless you're somehow demented, debased, dark-hearted, a fool. This is the epitome of class. You want to sell jewelry? You want to sell hairspray? You want to sell clothes? This is what you want, people, in executive world. You want class, all right? Grace Kelly, Sophia Loren, Raquel Welch, you don't, I'm sorry, hire Rosie O'Donnell, right? When she was doing her TV show. This is not what people want to see. I'm sorry.
Well, it's more than just physical beauty, too, Brandon. It's the way that they've been treating men for decades.
True.
It's the way that they treat family. And so the very tough acknowledgement is if society has a physical ideal, society also has a moral ideal, and that's a very dangerous proposition for cultural Marxists.
And I think I'm going to add to that because you're right. You don't have to be a knockout beauty to be attractive. Margaret Thatcher, I don't think was a beautiful person, but I thought she was attractive, right? Why? Because she knew how to dress. She knew how to carry herself. She knew how to speak, right? I didn't agree with some of Nancy Reagan's, weird stuff that she did with astronomy, astrology, etc. But she's another perfect example. She was an older lady, but she was a very attractive lady for her age because she knew how to dress. She knew how to carry herself. She knew how to walk and talk, right? We've lost this in our culture. Guys used to be taught how to dress, right? And they went to a tailor and their suits were tailored to them, to fit them. My suits are tailored to fit me. I don't buy my suits off a rack and throw it on like I'm throwing on a bed sheet or towel. They're tailored to me, right? Why? Because I want them to look nice. And if I'm going to spend the money buying a suit, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a nice suit. If you want to spend the money to buy a suit, go have it tailored so it fits you and looks well, right? And we used to teach women how to dress and how to walk and how to carry themselves. These were the standards that were rewarded in society and a part of having a good foundation for success. Today, because of socialism, communism, we reward crudeness, we reward ugliness. By people choosing to be crude and rude and ugly. We reward that.
Yeah.
That's socialism tearing down standards. That's how you destroy society. Now, the Marxists want to encourage that. But you see that going on in China? Look at how their troops train and dress. Are they doing LGBTQ? Are they doing transgender in their military? No. This is what they encourage in our culture to destroy us, right?
Yeah, it's the unholy alliance between cultural Marxists and government and the corporations who, unfortunately, I think the only hypothesis I have is that they've realized that it's more healthy for profits to have unhealthy, broken, victimized, chronically consuming Americans. And so it's hand in glove. The medical industry, they profit more when you're unhealthy, dying, and have chronic illnesses. The food service industry probably does the same. Government has more power. Think about, we probably have 10 trillion of our own debt that comes from the way that our medical industry has regulatory captured the administrators of our American health systems and the FDA and all this other stuff, right? And it's super profitable to force these unhealthy behaviors and long-term chronic treatments on people that the taxpayers have to pay for.
Yep.
And so again, I keep coming back to Trump might fix some stuff, but every one of our companies is rife with people who think this way. All of our institutions, as far as I know, 98% of them are all still the same human beings. And they try to destroy religion and pretend it doesn't exist or can't be a part of this discussion. But this is the question I have for people. How do we return to a situation where companies are run by, let me just give you an example. A fat person is more profitable than a skinny, healthy person. It's just the truth in most situations. And so how do we get to a situation where somebody in charge of a massive company like Target won't take advantage of that? What's stopping?
A fat person is more profitable?
Certainly for health companies, absolutely. Think about how much more money
Medical
the health
care
industry makes off. Right. For food, all the food, right?
So in other words, all the processed food, all the garbage they pump to make us unhealthy and fat and lazy benefits the medical industrial complex, plus the depopulation, plus
and
the
I don't
disability.
just want to make it about weight too. I mean, I think it's health in every format.
Yes.
Look at divorces, right? If you have two families trying to provide for housing, right? And it's like that's more expensive and drives up housing costs. But one of the really important polls we put out, we put it back out in the end of May. It didn't get a lot of attention, but we did a big one, 2,400 adults. Has a doctor ever diagnosed you with a mental condition? 23% of America says yes, but it's about 35% of Americans under 40. 35% of them. In the past year, have you sought counseling or mental health treatment from a therapist? 30% of adults under 40. These are people who are supposed to be procreating and building families and instilling values in their children. And they have ongoing mental health treatment from therapists, the vast majority of which is probably taxpayer funded through things like Medicaid, right? And then are you currently taking one or more prescription drugs for mental health problems? 18 to 29-year-olds, 26%, like one quarter of all 18 to 29-year-olds, 30% of 30 to 39-year-olds, 27% of women under 40, 31% of women under 40 are going to therapists. 35% of women under 40 have been diagnosed with a mental condition. 43% of 18 to 39-year-old liberals diagnosed with a mental condition. And so we're really leaning into this destroyed society where everybody's a mess. They have their own personal situations, their personal victimhoods, their own likes and tastes and niche consumption. And the internet is helping us provide that. AI will help us provide it even better. Because if you have somebody that spends all day on TikTok, right? What do you think TikTok powered by like a better AI, a generative AI is going to look like in 5 years? You're going to have people that are essentially on Soma. That's what we're going towards. And so again, we have Donald Trump and he's fixing a lot of these political issues that we have in our institutions. And yet society is still headed, I think, massively for ruin. And, I guess the church has a role. They have to step up. I don't hear them out there talking about these particular kinds of issues. I hear, most of the sermons I've read or heard in the last year have basically been some form of the salvation message, which is an important message. What about the dangers of AI? What about this idea that we do? This is a message that people need to hear. The religion, Christianity, is all about improving yourself and trying to live towards an ideal in order to pursue salvation, right? That is very diametrically opposed to the way our entire social order is operating right now.
Well, again, you were going to justification, faith and trust in Christ, and then justification, ongoing faithfulness and obedience. So people get saved, but now they got to be discipled and instructed on how to think about borders and AI and sexuality and work and money and national security and active euthanasia and marriage. I mean, we just go on, right? Law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, all those issues we've been nailing with a Christian worldview teaching for years, right? And you're right. A lot of churches won't touch it. They won't touch it. Most of them can't even get salvation right. They are teaching a works-based gospel where they merge justification and sanctification into the same thing, and now you're pursuing works. So most of them can't even get the gospel right, much less can they then go on and say, oh yeah, you know what, active euthanasia, God's not for that. Well, I didn't see active euthanasia in the back of my Bible or concordance. Hey, let's go to the story about Saul and his death.
Yeah.
And it's a condemnation of doctor-assisted or active euthanasia. But most pastors would have no idea you actually have the Bible speaking out against active euthanasia. Well, that's because they don't know the Bible. You're like, well, they went to seminary, Brandon. Yeah, but most of them will tell you they spent most of their time learning marketing and administration, not theology, not doctrine, not the Bible.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of ugliness, look at the presidential library, the Barack Obama presidential library. The residents in Chicago are livid. They're like, this thing is ugly. It looks like a stinking prison. Some kind of CIA building. Well, that might be appropriate. I think he's a creature of the CIA. But it looks like it's some kind of top secret CIA building.
Yeah, they're allergic to beauty. I don't know what to tell you, Brandon. They don't. This doesn't even have form. Like, just looking at it, there's nothing redeeming about this structure that they're putting up. It does look like some industrial abortion from a video game or something, like some level of Halo. And the only thing I can say is it must be this aspect of cultural Marxism that permeated the movement of the left, and they are immune. They just can't. They can't pursue beauty. They can't pursue idea. This is he had Greek columns when he went to speak. Brandon, remember that?
Yep.
Perfect Greek columns adorning his stage. And so I guess they've it's just gone too far. Now they're stuck and they're captured and they're a completely radical movement and they've taken over the Democrat Party and they're going for broke. You have Gavin Newsom out there who appears to be consolidating the radicals to become the most powerful voice in the Democrat Party.
Oh, let's go to that. Here's a clip. Here's a clip from CNN here on that.
Yeah, I think it absolutely has been working in terms of generating attention, which is what he's trying to do, right? I mean, take a look here. Let's take a look right at the @GovPress office followers on X. That's, of course, where you get those sort of the account where Newsom posts those Trump-style mocking types of tweets. Get this. That account, get this, up 450% in terms of the number of followers since mid-June. And it's not just on Twitter, X, where Newsom is gaining. Even on TikTok and Instagram, his followers are up over 1 million since January alone. My goodness gracious. And more than that, Laura, more than that, what about Google? What about those Google searches for him? Get this, daily Google searches for Gavin Newsom up like a rocket. What are we talking about? Since June 1, up 1,300%. Compared to August 1st, look at that, up 500%. So the bottom line is, in politics, especially if you're thinking of entering in 2028, it's all about generating attention. And so far, Gavin Newsom has done a good job at generating attention.
The Democrats want it.
Do Democrats want it? Okay. Do Democrats want it? This, I think, is the trend line that I think says it all. Democrats want their leaders to what? Try to stop the GOP or work with the GOP? You go back to 2017, you see here, work with the GOP took the cake at 74% compared to just 23% who said to try and stop the GOP. But now I'm going to come over to your side of the screen, Laura. Look at 2025. I'm coming as close as I can. 57% say they want the Democratic leaders to try and stop the GOP compared to just 42% who say they want them to work with the GOP. That is a major shift. What are we talking about here? Some quick math up here is 34% rise in terms of the percentage of Democrats who want their leaders to try and stop the GOP. So no wonder Gavin Newsom, he's looking at this polling. He's saying, I can generate attention. This is where the Democratic base is. And right now he seems to be following the Democratic base.
Why? For 2028?
For 2028. That is exactly why. And I think the question is it working? Is it working? Well, let's take a look at the betting markets. I think this gives away so much of it. Okay, the chance of being the 2028 Democratic nominee, according to the prediction markets. Look at where we were on June 1st. We basically had a clown car for first. Newsom, AOC, Buttigieg, 11%, 10%, 8%. But look at where we are now. Look at this. Look who's jumped up all the way up to 24% chance, about a 1 in 4 chance of getting the nomination. Gavin Newsom. AOC staying pretty steady at 13%. And then, of course, we have Pete Buttigieg, who has stayed absolutely steady at 8%. So at least at this particular point, the prediction markets are saying, yes, this strategy is paying off. Of course, the key question is, will this actually work when you're trying to actually votes are being cast and counted? And more than that, will it work for a general electorate? Well, it's early days yet. We'll have to wait and see. But so far, Gavin Newsom has done a pretty gosh darn good job of generating attention for himself and a pretty gosh darn good shot of getting people on television like you and I to talk about it.
Wow. So Gavin Newsom, he's going to beat out, what's her face? How quickly we forget her name. Kamala Harris. Yeah. She's so irrelevant.
I think it was inevitable just based on how she's been carrying herself. She's essentially missing in action. She's been in the news, not at all. If you look at Google search trend volume for the word Kamala Harris, there's no spike. She hasn't done any speeches. She hasn't. And now she was the Democrat. She still is, according to my polling, the Democrat frontrunner for the 2028 primary. The last time we tested, she got 32% of the vote to Gavin Newsom's 13%. That's a function of the fact that she was the vice president and she did have a lot of advertisement and positive press. They did basically the biggest psyop in the history of politics to try and convince everybody that that woman was likable. And so that's what he's up against. And he also has some negatives as well. Now, her numbers have been dropping. His numbers have kind of been going up, but she still massively beats him. Now, he is surging to the lead in the betting markets by a 3-1 margin, I think, over the next highest one. And you have to look at like why. And what I see now, if you Google Gavin Newsom and look through Google News, just in the last two or 3 days, there have been a lot of articles out there from places like Politico doing puff pieces for him on what is essentially no news. Like, he hasn't been making news outside of the thing that he did 2 weeks ago, where he came out against this redistricting and has been calling Trump out on Twitter. So I don't know if a decision happened behind the scenes where all of a sudden people said, you know what, we're going to pile behind Gavin Newsom. But what I think he's doing right now is consolidating the radicals in his party. You had people spread out over Buttigieg and Tim Walz and Shapiro and AOC, and every single one of these polls that they look at is a multi-way matchup. So there's like 6, 7, 8 people that they choose from, right? So for Gavin Newsom, I did see him go up. I think it was Echelon maybe put a poll out where Kamala was down to 26 and he was up to 13 or 14. He is still not the front runner according to the polling. He's only front runner according to Polymarkets, and Harry Enton knows that, but I think he was told to come out and put a puff piece out for Gavin Newsom as well. I think that's what you just saw there. Now, also, he said, okay, well, people want the Democrat Party to fight Republicans now. That has nothing to do with Gavin Newsom, nothing to do at all. It's Trump. And the fact that for the last 8 years, they've been trying to convince America that Donald Trump's a dictator, because half of Democrats think that Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. That's the number one issue on the ballot, right? So also, that's a CNN poll. And so I'm not sure necessarily if that number is accurate. And you also don't know what else was asked in advance of that question. Could have been Donald Trump eats kittens. Should the Democrat Party fight the Jews? Like, I'm serious. Like, that's a real consideration. But what I can tell you in polling that was done by me that I know is upstanding is that over 60% of Democrats say that they would like the party to moderate. And on most things, the Democrats are somewhat reasonable. Not everything, but they're somewhat reasonable. But it comes down to, okay, well, they've been gaslit. And a perfect example is on gerrymandering, okay? We just asked, hey, here's an example. Republicans have 45% of the vote in Illinois, but they only hold 18% of the House seats. Does this kind of result undermine American democracy? And 57% of Democrats said, yeah. 20% no. So Democrats don't like the idea of gerrymandering when states deliberately draw congressional districts to favor one party. 84% of Democrats say that that's a serious problem. But then we say, okay, well, which party is more likely to engage in partisan gerrymandering? And Democrats say Republicans are more, 48 to 29%. And so what this ultimately comes down to is, at this moment, Kamala Harris is the polling frontrunner. She's also DOA. She was a loser. I don't think as of now, I don't think the money's going to get behind her. And I think the second she goes out there for debates or marketing or, press junket, she's going to get absolutely obliterated by any of the people who are in what Harry Enton calls the clown car. I don't necessarily think Gavin Newsom has broken out of that as well. The Democrat primary polling market is probably very thin right now. Gavin Newsom could probably manipulate it himself with his own money if he wanted to. So maybe that's what's going on. And then the problem is that I haven't also seen him in my polling win a matchup against J.D. Vance yet. And J.D. Vance, I don't think he has the same kind of name recognition Gavin Newsom does right now. I just don't. I don't think he's been on the public stage as much, even though he's the VP. And then we have this whole situation of, well, what does secession look like on the MAGA side? And what does a handover look like? If it's a glowing endorsement with Trump's backing and significant numbers of rallies and the movement continues, I don't think Gavin Newsom has a chance against J.D. Vance. The problem is November 26th. That's the problem.
Wow. All right. So what do you think is going to happen midterm?
If the election was held tomorrow, Democrats pick up seats, probably gain the majority. Then it's a mess as they completely tank Donald Trump's already relatively non-existent legislative agenda. This has been one of the most embarrassing Congresses, I think, obviously. We all know that. Even though Trump was given a mandate, and even though Mike Johnson came out with very strong language in the beginning of November, talking about how he was going to raise an American First banner over the halls of Congress, objectively, that has not happened. They only have 50 legislative days in session for the rest of this year. I haven't even heard them talk about what they're going to do in the fall. They're probably going to try and stuff as much as possible in this another massive reconciliation bill, and it's going to look like an absolute mess, and people are going to hate it because it feels like D.C., not what they expected Republicans to do when they got into office. And there's a lot of polling that says that things are going bad right now. Only 38% of Trump 2024 voters have a very favorable impression of the Republican Party. So now people say, oh, the Democrat brand is in the tank. Well, it's not. It's slightly worse than Republicans, but they also don't need that because they have high propensity voters who will turn out. Republicans are running against the couch in November 2026, and with Democrats up 4 in the generic ballot, and probably a big public fight over gerrymandering, which Republicans might need to win, but it might be a fair victory because, like I just showed you, Americans hate the idea of gerrymandering, and they think Republicans do it more than Democrats by 5 points.
But that's not true, is it?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think the Democrats are notorious for going and drawing districts that go along interstates for 100 miles.
Yeah, but they're the cleanest dirty shirt or dirtiest shirt for sure. But Republicans do this too. Remember the Wisconsin Supreme Court election back in February, right? Well, Wisconsin is not a 75% Republican state, but Republicans had 75% of legislative districts there. And they're talking about Florida picking up yet another Republican, bringing the Democrats down to whatever it is, 20, 30%, like really low numbers. And so it's not fair to say that it's a Democrat thing. It's probably fair to say that Democrats are more effective at doing things like that, for sure. But Republicans would and try to as well. I think the issue now is it's like one of my followers said it. It's like the NFL fight where somebody throws a punch, but then the ref only sees the retaliatory punch. And so here are the Republicans trying to play smash mouth and catch up with the Democrats. And it looks really undemocratic because, quite frankly, it is. Like, we should not have gerrymandering. And so if Republicans want to win without that, they have to do something different. And they're not doing any of that right now. The most prominent thing that I saw the Republicans do in the last 2 weeks was send a delegate to the Wailing Wall. What else have they done? I mean, I know they're on recess, but let's be honest, we're not getting judicial confirmations through, don't know what the legislative agenda looks like in the fall. And somebody I talked to within Republican circles, he says they're not messaging at all. I hate the way Republicans only message 6 months out from an election. And so they give the higher ground is ceded all of the time to Democrats. And right now, Gavin Newsom is making it about resisting Trump. At a certain point, people are going to look around and say, well, Republicans aren't really doing anything that great. And Trump does some stuff that's good, but I only hear about the stuff he does that's bad. And everybody's saying about how great a leader Gavin Newsom is. Like, that's kind of the way that some of this stuff plays out. So hard to predict where it's going to go. I don't think he's a political winner, but he's not going to be running against Trump. He's going to be running against Vance, who's going to be perceived to have more ties to the Republican Party, having been a Republican senator, and probably having an establishment that has their knives out for him, doesn't want the MAGA agenda, doesn't want the MAGA movement. Republicans are not MAGA. They just aren't. Like, people can say, oh, Trump was in charge of the party. No, he wasn't. Trump is not a Republican, did not take over the Republican Party. The Republican Party has not been changed. It's 98% the same people, just like every other institution. They haven't fired 50% of the FBI. They just haven't done it.
That's right.
The
and we're hearing
IRS
words
is also
that,
the same people.
yeah, and they just got rid of the IRS commissioner. He's going to become the ambassador of Iceland. I don't know what's going on there. I wasn't too happy about that because I actually was texting with the IRS commissioner and trying to get him to fix a problem. And that's not right. That's happened to us. And then boom, he's gone. And now here they're bringing in the Attorney General of Missouri, Bailey. And I don't know if that's because they're getting ready to apparently going to make him the deputy director of the FBI, I guess a co-deputy director. I wonder if they're about to get rid of Bongino and or Cash, one of those.
People is policy, but just putting somebody at the head of the organization doesn't change the people. And so until I see evidence that there's a massive reorganization about how these agencies are run, about how the RNC and the NRCC and all the people said, oh, well, the Republicans shouldn't be messaging right now. They're on recess. Okay, well, the RNC isn't on recess. The NRCC leadership isn't on recess. The NRSC, the Republican Governors Association, all the state and local parties, you know, and I'm sure they're having local rallies for their people and stuff like that.
Yeah, but let me just tell you. Can I just tell you from my end? Logan, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, obviously, 1 being the worst, how good are these Republicans at getting back to us to come on here and get free airtime? A 3? Yeah, they're lazy. Let me tell you, the Republicans are lazy. Lazy. Not all of them. Vast majority of them are clueless, lazy, uninteresting. What's that? Their staff. They surround themselves now there's a couple of them we work with. Their staff are amazing. I'm just going to say one right now. Congressman Glenn Grothman, he's got a couple people on his staff that are 4 stars. 4 stars. I call, they answer. We ask for an interview, they get back. Congressman Glenn Grothman has one of the most responsive staffs on Capitol Hill I have ever dealt with. So that's true. We've had a pretty good response from Marjorie Taylor Greene's staff, haven't we?
But she's not afraid of a conversation. I think that might be one of the things that's going on here, Brandon.
Yeah.
So first off, I've met some of these staffers, and I don't spend a ton of time in D.C., but it's like they're all probably Nepo babies from Georgetown whose dad got him a job, and they're interchangeable.
There's no urgency on their part. No urgency.
Well, it's like if you go and look at, I worked at JP Morgan as an associate, and all of the associates in JP Morgan act, look, talk, and dress the same way. They just do. And so when you're working in the halls of Congress, which is a single office building, you're not working for the Republican team. You're working for a company, essentially, where everybody looks, talks, acts, and thinks the same way. And how they want to think is that, wow, maybe we're not in an existential crisis. Wow, maybe I am doing a good job. Wow, maybe that justifies me going off work early at 4 o'clock in the afternoon today and going to happy hour with all of the people I know from the Democrat office across the hall from me. Oh, wow, a lobbyist comes and sits in my office and tells me how important this thing is that's happening. And maybe I should listen to him and I can have action on that and feel really good because the lobbyist will come back and tell me I'm doing a good job. I think that's a lot of what goes on. And I think, I've talked to some of the congressmen. I think the ones I've talked to have all been great and principled as well. But I feel there's this hesitance because they don't know about every issue. They don't have anybody breathing down their necks. There is no pressure to be lockstep on any issue. And I think they're also, quite frankly, afraid of being dragged into an issue that they don't want to talk about.
Well, you're right about Congressman Glenn Grothman. You're right about Marjorie Taylor Greene. There are some of them that, Tim Burchett, they have no fear of doing a show and being asked something. They're not worried about the political correctness thing. That's not their thing, which is probably how they keep getting elected over and over because they don't care about that.
Yeah.
You and I know they're the minority. A lot of their staffers, they won't return emails. I mean, how hard is it to return an email? They don't return emails. They don't return phone calls. We ran into one congressman, my own congressman. Okay, we ran into him when we were on Capitol Hill interviewing people. And we were set up in the rotunda of, what was that, the Cannon office building, Logan? Or was it? And he goes walking by when I'm done with an interview, and I just stuck up my hand and said, "Hey, I'm Brandon House." He stopped, he looked at me, he smiled, he said, "I know who you are." And I said, "Really?" Because I'd never met him. And he said, "Oh yeah, I've watched some of your stuff." I said, "Well, we wanted to interview you, but we didn't get a response." He said, "Well, I didn't get a email or anything. Who you been talking to?" And I looked at Logan, and Logan's named the name of the staffer. And Logan said, "Yeah, we emailed 2 or 3 times, left voicemails, nothing." No, he was not a happy camper. A couple of staff people with him started pulling their business cards out, handing them to Logan, get a hold of us, get a hold of us. It was like, what are you doing if your press person cannot return phone calls and emails? I mean, how hard is it to do that? But this is not just that office. This is the majority of them. They just are like, "I'm sorry, if you're not Fox News, we're not interested." Like, well, that's stupid because guess what? President Trump went to all these podcasts, some of them I'd never even heard of, and President Trump's talking to those guys.
Yeah, it's a new world, and they're not keeping up with it. And I know they're not listening to the polling either. And I think that's part of it, too. I definitely think staffer incompetence. But it's like if you cornered your average Republican legislator and started talking about the issue of abortion, I'm pretty sure you'd probably get some, maybe not, but I'm pretty sure you'd probably get some bad answers where I have advice for them, which is pretty much everybody agrees that late-term abortions are an abomination. And so if you can promise the average carve-outs, right, it's an 85% position to ban. That's one of the highest numbers we have. That's more popular than paper ballots and voter ID. And so there could be bipartisan legislation tomorrow to do that. And I know Roe Wade, we kicked it back to the states, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, like, they don't know how to talk about that issue. I think they're afraid of things like that. And I have the answers for them, which is like, yes, you should get away from a fight over pro-choice versus pro-life and get into the fact that there are reprehensible things that we can all agree to now are bad. And I sent polling to one of the office and never heard back. Sent it to a director of communications for one of the good conservative ones. Never heard back, offered them a subscription. And so, again, you say, all right, well, maybe if they had a national organization like the Democrats, like a strategy layer, a layer of enforcement and reward and strategy and analytics and all the grassroots stuff they have a machine. The Republicans don't have a machine. The Republican machine does something different than the Democrat. Democrat machine is a feedback mechanism for conformity and power capture.
Which is why you see them all pushing the same talking points all the time.
Yeah, the talking points come out at 4 a.m. It goes to all their press surrogates.
You're not joking here right now. You're not joking. You're being dead serious.
All right, like we saw it in the Podesta emails. Like we've seen it. We've seen it happen. We've seen MSNBC people say to James O'Keefe, undercover, that the MSNBC talking points are the Kamala Harris campaign talking points. They said that months ago. They actually came out and said it. And so, yes, this is absolutely 100% how it happens. And if you're one of those talking heads and you don't toe the line, they have ways of coming after you. You're cut out. You don't get access. Somebody sends you a nasty email. Like things happen that are bad for your career. And they do that like up and down the entire, and on the right, how it's different is that it's not about maintaining optics and power and the visuals. It's about towing the line in order to maximize harvesting of donor dollars into consulting and campaign vendors. Like that's what I think the real game is.
So it's all about the money. So for the Democrats, it's about the cause. For the Republicans, it's about the money.
Well, I mean, the cause on the Democrat side is maximizing the power structure that has maintained the global klepto corporate hegemony. Like, so it's still about the money, right? Like
they use the cause to get their people motivated to go out and vote and get elected and keep their power base.
Yeah, and I don't know why they lean into radical things as much as they do. I really don't. But
the Republicans can't seem to get organized on a cause like a contract with America, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I think you look at what's very unique about Trump's agenda, and obviously you say, well, okay, it's America first, which means voter first, but I think what it's really morphed into because of the Biden administration is reordering the socioeconomic order so that it works for the bulk of America, which is what has not happened. So how Democrats and Republicans have both equally failed is that they've allowed the powerful to concentrate political and economic power in order to maximize rent seeking and minimize the opportunities for Americans. And so, in my opinion, there's no left or right, conservative, radical kind of thing. It's really like, okay, well, you have two competing views of what economic populism is, and I think that is what's going to drive the near future of politics. And what you have, I think, on the right is a whole lot of people who still get money from the Kochs and the Club for Growth and the Chamber of Commerce type people, the big donors that run massive hedge funds and stuff like that, who don't acknowledge that that should be the ideological rudder of the right. And yet you have people who are extensions of the Trump movement who will carry it forward from a leadership perspective that do understand that. So I think that's going to be a major clash because Trump didn't necessarily need billions and billions of dollars of donor money. But you're not going to get a rich outsider billionaire so committed to this component of fixing America. And so I think, and I don't know obviously how Gavin Newsom is going to run, but you look at AOC and Bernie, and they've been at least moderately successful. I don't think the mainstream media has the same impetus from on high to parrot the Bernie Sanders and AOC voices. But they have a grassroots movement that is stronger than Gavin Newsom's. People in the grassroots for Gavin Newsom are still complaining about how he wasn't maximally tolerant of LGBT people when he was interviewing Charlie Kirk, right? So right. They're going to offer up a brand of economic populism that will be made out of, rainbows and unicorn farts, but it will appeal to a lot of people. And so I think there just needs to be a pragmatic and effective response to how the right completely embraces that.
Well, we just need to have state what we believe, state what our worldview is. Our worldview is the foundation of our values are the foundation of our conduct. Here's what we believe. Here's our goals. Here's our objectives. And we go for it, and we're unapologetic. Ronald Reagan did a great job of saying, here's who I am. This is what I stand for. And he was willing to debate and take on people. He was debating people constantly, unscripted, right? Remember the famous, I'm paying for this microphone, right? I mean, there was just a lot of these things that were unscripted, taking on the progressive professors at Berkeley, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I think a lot of these Republicans, they don't themselves know what they believe, right? And now we've got something about, I don't know what, I can't get the article. You have to pay to get the article, but supposedly there's some married congressman that's caught up in some kind of gay sex scandal. I don't even know who that is because they're not saying. Have you seen that in the Daily Mail yesterday?
No, I'm typing right now though.
Oh, Daily Mail had it yesterday. But you had to pay for their premium. You had to pay for their.
I'll show you how to fix that after this.
Here it is. Here it is right here. Here it is. Secret gay sex scandal explodes. Republican Party as closeted congressman who's engaged to a woman is accused of sordid double life. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that is or what it's about. All I know is I'm not so convinced a lot of these guys that are so-called Republicans are actually all that conservative anyway, to be frank.
No, I don't think that. I think
which is why they don't have any values and cause, and they really can't go out there and push it because they're afraid of being exposed, and many of them are controlled. They're controlled. They're being blackmailed.
Well, to be honest, I think, first off, anybody that acquires power is going to want to keep it. That's just human nature. And I think that the actual mission of the Republican Party, probably rightly so, is to do what they think they need to do to win. The problem is that they've been given a very clear plan of what to do to win, and they're not doing it. That's the problem, right? And I think for them, winning probably relatively ubiquitously across the entire country at local, county, party, and state levels has been, we'll just say what we need to say. We'll be the not Democrat. We're going to run as the not Democrat. We're going to be moderate. We're going to distance ourselves from strong stances and from lightning rod political figures. And yet at the same time, as you and I both know, the main components of the MAGA agenda have been the most popular thing that the voters have basically ever seen recently.
They want the big tent, all the nickels and noses we can get, and let's just appeal to everybody. And you and I, coming from business, know that the worst marketing is a shotgun approach. You don't market to everybody. You pick your demographic and you go for your demographic, right?
Yep.
If you think you're going to market a product to everybody, you're going to fail. And that's what the Republicans do. We want to be big tent. Okay, good luck with that. Donald Trump comes along and says, here's what we stand for. And they're all screaming, the rhinos, oh, that's not going to include enough people. That's too exclusive. I'm sorry. Right.
Yeah, it's like big tent is deport everybody. Yep. That's big tent. Deport as many people as possible. Americans support that.
But they don't think so. They don't think so, or they're afraid the media is going to say something bad about them.
Yeah. Well, exactly that. Or it's like, well, in my district, my voters are 30% Hispanic. So I can't say that here or I'm going to get crushed. Meanwhile, Hispanics are more anti-illegal immigration than white voters are. Like, that's the problem, right?
So they don't even know the polling. A lot of them don't even know the polling. And you're trying to share it with them, and they don't even take the free polling you're offering.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they deserve to lose. Then they deserve to lose. But
that's
then
what
again,
I've been saying. Give Americans a Republican Party that deserves to win.
Yep.
And the only thing that I can see that a Republican Party that deserves to win is one that maximally assumes this role of champion for the American middle class. And that doesn't just mean economically. That means values. That means family formation, housing, jobs, like all of that. All you have to do is do that and pass good laws, period.
And then actually do it. Actually do it. Like you said, pass good laws.
Pass good laws. Mm-hmm. That's the strategy for success.
At Honest Pollster, that's his handle at Twitter, at Honest Pollster. He'll be one of the keynote speakers at our national conference coming up Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th, here in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee. Get your tickets at worldviewstore.com. You can walk up, talk to Mark yourself. Okay? And,
I'll be there.
And you're going to be doing some special worldview polling, brand new worldview polling on what's the worldview, what's the values of the average American. I think you might be shocked we might be able to show that George Barna's polling hasn't been that accurate. So we're gonna. So be sure to be here, folks. Mark, as always, thank you.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Mark Mitchell checking in. Check out his handle at Honest Pollster and get registered. WorldviewStore.com, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th, for our national 22nd annual Worldview Weekend. We'll be right back after this break. You've seen some of them on Fox News, and now some of them are coming to the Worldview Weekend in Collierville, Tennessee, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th, like Gordon Chang, an expert on China, as China is buying up a lot of our farmland and more. Then we're going to have the lead pollster of Rasmussen Polling, Mark Mitchell. Where are we headed with the midterms? What's the worldview of the average American? What values do they really believe in? And then Chris Martenson, he's an expert on the Great Reset as we head toward digital currency and social credit scores. Sidney Powell, a lot of you know who that is. Alex Newman, Dr. Andy Woods on Israel and the Middle East. And Adia Maramonde, she was inside the government and even met with people like Gaddafi. She's going to talk about the Middle East. All the details are available, and to get your tickets at worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com. Again, tell your family and friends, worldviewstore.com. All right, before we go, Great Britain is gone. I hate to say it. It is gone. The UK is gone. Look at this. The Muslims are taking over. Here, watch what happened today. Here we go. Or the other day. He's starting a chant trying to, "We love bacon." I guess he's protesting all the Islamists.
Why? Because I like bacon. He likes bacon. Oh.
By the way, look at their cops. Their cops all look like a bunch of, feminized wimps. By the way, I don't think they carry guns over there. They have little whistles. This is what they're arresting people for, is saying, "I love bacon" to some Islamists who run around chanting death, death, kill the Jew, kill the Christians, teach all the garbage they teach in their mosques. And you say, "I love bacon," and oh no, someone's got their feelings hurt. They can wave their Islamic jihadi flags everywhere. The UK is toast. It's over. It's done. I'm sorry for the folks that live there, but it is a rotten, disgusting place. Minus the people like this who actually have some guts. But this is the minority over there, apparently. This is coming to America. You can't say I love bacon. I mean, this is so much for free speech. It's just, I don't know what to say. Disgusting. But this is, again, very easily could come to America. Very easily could come to America. And this network will be gone because we say stuff that's, I guess, more highly offensive than that to the power elite. Well, folks, if you appreciate our broadcast, we need your support. We really do. We are a listener-supported network. I say that all the time, but it's so true. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. Roll the music, guys. You know what else you can do? You can get some free business cards of ours. They're free. They're free. Like this is how I always think about, hey, Logan, I beat your mom at gin the other night. Well, I like to play gin before we call it a day, a few nights a week. It's a great way to unwind. Unless I lose, then I don't unwind. Sometimes she lets me keep playing until I win. I'm like, we're not calling it a night till I win. I can't sleep otherwise. Logan and I are very competitive when it comes to gin, aren't we, Logan? But anyway, this is not gin cards. These are our business cards, and you can order them for free at worldviewstore.com. Get a pack for free. Pass them out to your family and friends. Tell them about the Worldview Report, Worldview Tube, all of what we're doing here. We really appreciate your helping get out the word, okay? Worldviewstore.com. By the way, that same URL, worldviewstore.com, you can find out all about our fall conference, all right? Hey, till next time, thanks for watching. I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.